All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new ChronosHub webinar. My name is Alexandra, and I'm an engineering manager here at ChronosHub, and I will be facilitating today's session. Just a quick recap. In our last session, we have focused on how semantic matching can help with finding the right journal for a manuscript and the right reviewers to assess it. Today, we're going to be continuing on the pre-submission tools series with a session on reference quality checks and how an automated check at submission or even before submission can save editorial teams the time that they would otherwise spend on manuscripts that are not ready. So let's get started with today's session, reference quality, let automation do the checking so your team doesn't have to. I'm also today I have with me two speakers from WorldBrain, Cohen and Seeger. So I would also like to hand it to them to introduce. Cohen, if you want to put a few words and also introduce a bit about WorldBrain.
Absolutely, thank you. So hi everyone, nice of you all to join. My name is Koen Derksen and I'm the CTO for WorldBrain Scholar. WorldBrain Scholar is the company building the tool ELISA, which is an AI-powered tool to support the peer review process. We have a variety of tools included in ELISA that we will talk more about as the session goes on. But today we are focusing on reference checking. Zeger Carson is our CEO. He is also joining a little bit later. He has a long time background in publishing. And was also originally an AI researcher, same as I. So we will hear him speak also during the question sections of the webinar probably, but I will do the presentation later on.
Perfect. Thank you. Before I hand it back to you to introduce us on the tooling, I want to introduce a bit the structure for today's session. I'll start first by showing how a tool like WorldBrains can become available to ChronosHub users. Then Cohen will introduce the tool, and there will also be a live demo. And of course, we'll take questions at the end. So if there is anything you want to ask about, please put it in the Q&A section. And we'll mostly take them at the end. But if anything, we'll do some as we go as well. So let's kick it off with the first part. How does a pre-submission or submission tool become available to a ChronosHub user? The answer is what we call the ChronosHub integration layer. Normally, connecting a publisher to a service provider means building a custom integration, typically one pair at a time, meaning that each connection needs to be built, tested, and maintained on its own. That approach typically does not scale at large, and it causes the problem of bringing in a new tool means building new integrations from scratch. So publishers a lot of the times end up waiting whenever they want to make a change to their tooling. That's why we are proposing the ChronosHub integration layer, because it is taking a different approach towards this. Everyone keeps the systems they already run, but we change how the systems communicate with each other. Instead of building the translator between them, we connect them through a common language that we agree on upfront. The goal is that once we connect a service to the integration layer, it can reach all of our customers, and also that publishers can combine the tools they already run in a single interface and process. It turns the one-to-one integrations into an open network, one that can include tools like scope check, reviewer matching, and many more. The hard part is moved all upfront in agreeing on the common language, but once that exists, the rest can scale, new tooling can be added to the network, and tools can be interchanged in the process. To put a better picture to this, I want to go to this illustration and show what are the different layers that then get involved. Top to bottom, we have the following. At the top, we have a single user experience a unified surface that the authors can interact with instead of many different tools, separate portals. They gain a single interface for the entire workflow. Below that, we have the different products that can be added. The ones we build, the ones built by our customers, and any third-party tool that is relevant to the process. The integration layer or integration framework, as it is here on the slide, it is the one that connects them and what lets the publisher swap one tool for another without disrupting anything above it or below. It is also what allows the different products to communicate with the user experience layer. And at the very bottom, since now everything flows through the integration layer, at the bottom we have the data layer where every event that flows, it's captured, and we can help with providing insights and robust audit trails on what has happened alongside a manuscript process. And then what are the benefits of building it this way? There are three main benefits that I would like to focus on here. The first is we integrate once. When we build the integration for one type of feature, let's say scope check, we build it in a generic way so every tool can connect to the integration layer and get access to the ChronosHub system. This means that whenever a tool is added to the ecosystem, it becomes available to all customers at once. Second benefit is freedom to choose. Publishers can swap or evolve their tooling without needing a new integration that is built one-to-one. And the third one is the data capture. As mentioned before, as now everything flows through the same layer, then every event in and out is captured, and it can be turned into valuable insights. And the last illustration I would like to show here before handing it off. This is the same model I presented above before with the different layers, but really mapped to the manuscript lifecycle and with a bit more detail. At the very top, as before, we have the unified user experience that the user gets to interact with, and the integration framework running underneath all of it. And it is also the layer that connects all the different tools a publisher already runs, be it the peer review system, the production, finance, all of it connect in with either status updates or information that needs to be passed further to the user. Now, zooming a bit on the submission side, the tools provided by third parties, tools like researcher validation or pre-flight checks, each of them connect to the integration framework, and then those get displayed to the user. I'm showing this because it's also where a new tool fits in. When a new service comes along, let's say reference checking, it connects into the integration layer, and from there it shows up at the right stage in the workflow. This means no custom integration, and it's also a representation of what it means to connect once and have the freedom to choose between the different tools. That was it from my side of how do we actually bring the tooling into the ChronosHub ecosystem. So I'm going to hand it over to Cohen to run us a bit in depth with the tooling from WorldBrain.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so let me talk a little bit more about what we are actually doing with reference checking within ELISA. So ELISA as a whole is an AI-powered tool to support the peer review process, and we're aiming at different user groups within that process, from the editorial authors to reviewers to editors who make final decisions on the papers. And we try to contribute to the points I noted on the slide. So improving peer review quality, for example, we do it through our peer reviewer assistants by helping them to better structure and substantiate their arguments. and making sure that they tick all the boxes that the journal would like them to tick during writing the review, for example. And same way with these other points, we try to provide tools that, for example, expand and engage the reviewer pool by helping people to write reviews, even if they are not very experienced in this whole process. In terms of the reference checking here, we help by analyzing papers that are uploaded to our platform or that are in another way delivered through an integration with a platform such as ChronosHub, to give, for example, editorial offices a quick kind of pre-screening check of the reference quality of a particular paper. But it can also help reviewers to better judge the reference list quality of a paper by, for example, checking whether papers they are expecting are in there, whether there is no fake references included in the reference list, and things like this that I will talk a bit more about. And the goal with this whole tool is to lead eventually to better peer reviews and quicker decisions for publishing houses. So for the references specifically, we think references are very important and also a very clear indicator of the quality and work that is put into a paper usually. So references really tell you whether research is informed well, contextualized well, and properly connected to existing knowledge and citing relevant literature. Similarly, reference lists also can have a lot of indicators that can mean that a paper is a problematic submission. Like, for example, a paper might be missing key papers that should really be cited but aren't. Authors could be doing heavy self-citation that should automatically be flagged. They could be citing a lot of outdated references or otherwise have a body of references in their reference list that is not expected from a paper in that particular field. For example, in computer science, we expect usually quite recent references in the reference list, and if this is not the case, that could be something to flag for further investigation. And you can also, of course, check whether an author is making only references to low quality publications or to retracted papers or things like this. These are all kind of indicators of how high the quality of a particular work really is. So in ELISA, we offer manuscript analysis focusing on the reference list in particular for editorial office staff, reviewers, and editors alike. So it consists of a couple of basic features that I will also show you after this presentation in a live demo. But we do some basic checks on the content of the paper. We provide you with comprehensive reference statistics and some additional data to give you a quick overview of kind of the high-level attributes of this reference list, like the dates of the publications, for example, so you can quickly judge whether the body of references is outdated or not, for example. We give related work suggestions that you can use to suggest to the author to add to their reference list if some canonical work is maybe missing, for example. We check the similarity of references against the submitted paper. This is primarily used to identify papers that are completely unlike or very much alike the paper that is being reviewed, because both of these extremes can be indicators of either replicating pre-existing work or citing papers that have nothing to do with the submitted paper, for example. And then finally, we also check for self-citations and citations of retracted papers for obvious reasons. So from our experience, this leads to a lot of time gain for editorial office staff in particular, because running through reference lists can take a lot of time to individually check every reference. But another thing that we see is that this often is not really done at all, particularly by reviewers, because it takes so much time. And doing this in an automated way really adds value in that case, because it's now can be done in very little time automatically, and provides signals to reviewers that they can then further interpret during their evaluation of the paper. So with that, I would like to quickly show you a live demonstration of what this process looks like in our own tool. I hope you can see my screen now. I think so. So in our own tool, if you upload the paper, we ask you to upload the paper as a PDF and potentially also add ORCID IDs of the authors. And this enables us to check, for example, for self-citations against a large database of existing literature. Once you upload this PDF, we parse it and we generate the following overview. So on the left, you can see, for example, the title and the abstract parsed out of the paper. And we do some preliminary content checks at the bottom here. So for example, we check whether there is a conflict of interest statement included in this paper or not, and whether it confirms to a particular structure that might be mandated by any particular journal. And these checks can also be customized per customer, basically. So some journals will want to check for other things. This is very easy to extend for us. Then on the right, there is kind of the high-level analysis of the reference list. So here we show metrics like the number of preprint references versus the number of actual published references that also contain the DOI, for example. We show an overview of the references by publication year. So this gives you really quickly an idea of whether the reference list as a whole is outdated or primarily cites very new or very old papers. We also show the journal rank scores, quartiles of cited journals, and the journal rank scores of individual cited journals. So this gives you an idea basically of how many of the papers that are cited come from high quality or high impact score venues versus lower impact score venues. And this is also quite often kind of a proxy for the quality of the work that is being cited. We also show the impact score, like I said, of individual journals, as well as individual cited conference proceedings. And we also show a graph of the citation count of all the references. And this can really help, for example, to spot canonical papers that you as a reviewer would expect to be cited for this paper that you're reviewing. Those will always appear at the start here because usually those are very highly cited. And the same goes for very low cited papers. It can also be an indicator of a weird kind of body of references, for example, if all of these papers are very low citation counts. So of course, depends on the field that you're working in. But these things in combination can help you to kind of make a first judgment about the cited work of this paper. Then,
I can, we have a question in the Q&A that I think could work very well in here. Mm-hmm. Can a check of reference list tell if a manuscript comes from a paper mill?
That's a good question. There is some indicators there, I think, that we can look at. So, for example, a paper mill references might be quite at random at times. So later on in this overview, we, for example, show this reference similarity feature, which checks whether references are considered similar and relevant to the paper that is currently under review. This is, in our opinion, a very good feature to help you interpret whether the body of cited papers is actually logical for a real paper, for example, versus more of a paper mill produced paper. We also check other aspects about the references that may help you interpret this, but we don't give like a strict kind of flag of this is a paper mill paper or this is not a paper mill paper. This also leans more into, for example, detecting AI written works, which is not something we have forayed into as of yet. So I think it would be, for detecting paper mill papers, it would be a combined kind of thing, both looking at reference quality signals as well as the text as a whole.
Thank
you. Okay, so let me continue where I left off. Sorry. So for papers, we also provide related work suggestions. So we generate kind of search queries based on the content of a paper that is uploaded to come up with related work that is not yet cited by the author. And this can help you to provide, for example, to the author papers that they may not have included in their work as of yet. And it can also come up with papers that are maybe relevant that both the author and you did not think of at first. So this is also a very helpful feature to kind of flesh out the reference list if that's necessary. As I said, this reference similarity feature is really helpful to kind of judge the actual quality of the references as used in the paper that you're reviewing. So it shows on the left side the papers from the reference list that are most similar to the paper that you're reviewing or analyzing here, and on the right side the paper that are least similar to the paper that you are reviewing here. And this can also help you, for example, to start looking further into a paper to confirm whether certain claims that are being made are actually rooted in existing literature. You would start by picking papers that are very similar to the current paper that you're analyzing and reading those to see whether claims that are being made in the paper that you're analyzing are actually backed up by findings in papers that are very similar to this paper that you're analyzing. If there are a lot of papers here that are very dissimilar, that might also be a signal that maybe the reference list is either fleshed out in a way that's not really conducive to the quality of the paper. Also, of course, this depends on what kind of paper it is, but usually this is quite a strong signal that something is maybe wrong and you should look further into it. Yeah, and then the final section here is we also provide all this information that you've seen at the top for each reference individually. So for each reference from the reference list, you can see how similar is it to the paper in the review. What's the title, the authors, the persistent identifiers, the topics, the venue, the citation count, etc. And this is also the place where we flag, for example, self-citations or retracted papers that occur in the reference list. Those are flagged with little exclamation marks in the UI. And again, if you see a lot of self-citation here, for example, that might be another indicator that there is a problem. Particularly the combination of lots of self-citations that are very dissimilar to the paper in the review can be a very strong signal that people are just arbitrarily citing their own work without it really being related to the actual paper that they're writing. Yeah, and as you can see, gathering all this data would take an enormous amount of time to do manually for an individual paper. So we think it's really an added value that you can do this now automatically without really needing to be there, apart from uploading the paper or getting it automatically uploaded to the integration layer or something similar. And it provides you with a lot of helpful information to kind of get at least the first idea of the quality of the cited work for this paper, and to give you some handholds to start investigating further if any signals are flashing red for you as a reviewer or editorial staff member. Yeah, so with that, I can finish the demonstration, I think, and hand it back to you, Alexandra.
Yeah. All right. Let me we have a few questions. One here, are the manuscripts that are coming through your platform, are they used for training any model?
Shall I take that? I see Sager is back also. Yeah. No, they aren't. So the way this works is when we receive a manuscript, we process it using AI models. For the providers of these AI models, we have contracts that guarantee that they do not use any of that data for training and don't store it for any further use. And the same thing goes for us. We don't store this data except to be able to give you the outputs that our tool provides, but we don't do anything else with the outputs. We don't train models. We don't sell data or anything like this. And data is also deleted as soon as it is no longer used in our platform. So, yeah.
How does the tool handle incomplete or incorrect references? For example, if there's some of the details that are missing or are wrong.
That's a good question. So we primarily match on titles against the database that backs this tool. So if we can match a paper using the title to an external database, then we can fill out the rest of this information that might be missing in the actual PDF file that you're analyzing, for example. So if people are missing an author or wrote the year wrong or something, this is something that we can correct. If a paper is not able to be found in the database at all, that might be an indicator that maybe this is a non-existent a reference, or it's a reference that is not included in the database that we use. But this is very seldom the case. Usually it's a flag that something might be wrong. Either in the title is written wrong, or it's a non-existent reference is usually the problem. And if the title is written wrong, there's not much more we can do, unfortunately.
Fair point. There's a bit of a different question, but I think also very relevant. Do you offer any support for reviewers to understand the metrics and the findings in your report, how to understand all the different signals that are being offered?
We do offer, oh, sorry, yeah, you want to take that? Oh, okay. Yeah, we do offer some explanations of what all these metrics mean, particularly in our own UI. Each of the feature boxes has a learn more section which you can click, which opens a little modal with explanation about the metric and how it might be interpreted. But we also explicitly try not to give too many like explicit flags of this is a problem or this is not a problem, because it's very nuanced usually and requires really interpretation of a person in the context of this particular paper and this particular field to be able to make a decision whether a particular signal is actually bad or good or should trigger a warning or not. So yeah, we do offer explanation, but there is also a large part of interpretation necessary here to fully use all the signals that we provide.
Just to add a little bit, this tool is not about judging a paper or judging any references. It's just sending off some signals which could be interpreted for using in a judgment about the paper, the quality of the references. It's up to the reviewer, or also can also be up to the publisher's policy, whether this is going to be interpreted in whatever way. We are just trying to find the signals which could be interesting for making a judgment.
All right, thank you. And we also have a question on retracted papers. Retracted papers are still getting cited quite a bit. How do you catch that, and how do you keep the list of retractions up to date?
Well, first of all, let's start with this may be a misunderstanding. We are not taking care of tracking all the retractions. There's a retraction watch database, which is has a procedures database, which is used by many other publishers and other service providers as well, which keeps track of all the retractions all over the world. So this is what we use also as input for our own tool. So we're not keeping track of the retraction ourselves. We use an external database for that.
All right, thank you. There's also a question on self-citation, citing your own work. How should publishers think about it, and how do you look at it without maybe over-signaling it?
Well, that's an interesting issue, of course, because self-citation is something also which can be very relevant for the text, for the paper at stake. If the researcher is doing research on a specific topic for a long time, has written about this research for a couple of papers, of course, he or she will cite these papers in the new paper, which is makes sense. But what we try to avoid, these words which we signal, is that that there are references which have no relevance at all to the ongoing paper, which the paper is at stake, and there's a big issue. And for any self-citation or any other citation popping up in the reference list which has no relevance to the paper at all, there will be a red flag. At least there will be a very strong signal coming from us to the reviewer or to the editorial office about, hey, watch these references, they make no sense given the paper at stake. At least that's our interpretation. So we have this, Koen called this a similarity check. I call it a relevance check, and whether the references indeed have to do something with the paper, the topic of the paper which is being reviewed. And so anything which has very low relevance rate compared to the paper on the review gets a flag.
All right. Thank you. There's one question that we got early on in the presentation that I would just maybe want to put 2 words to, and also give some more time if there are any more questions here. Regarding the overview of integrations that are already in place, that will be coming in the coming months. Currently, you can find information on general what it takes to integrate on the ChronosHub website, and there will be more details coming in the following months. Just if there aren't any more questions coming in, I would very much like to say thank you for today and for spending some time with us. And thank you so much for the presentation and for introducing the tool.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
you very much
for having us.
Just one word, you can easily go to the website of our Eliza Worldbrain, worldbrainscholar.eu, and you can also try this tool out for yourself. It's free and it gives you a good impression on how it works for yourself. So please go ahead.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.